the Association of Military Alumni for University of Florida. We're honored to have Major General Patrick Ryder with us today for our ongoing series of our leadership chats. First, I want to go ahead and introduce Evan Lowe. He is the Vice President of Communications for the Association of Military Alumni. Thank you both for being with us here today.
Yeah, thanks very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. Thanks, Evan.
All right, well, sir, I know we only have you for a short amount of time, so I'm just going to roll right into if that's good with you.
Sure.
What years did you attend UF, your major, and why were you so drawn to not just the University of Florida, but their ROTC program with the Air Force?
Yeah, so I attended Florida from 88 to 92, so just a couple of years ago. And my father had served in the Coast Guard, and we got orders to Florida about a month into my junior year. So, I honestly, prior to that, did not know a lot about the University of Florida, but then I felt very fortunate to, at first not so excited about moving in the middle of high school, like a lot of military kids, but, getting to live in Florida and then ultimately getting to go to the University of Florida was literally life-changing and just a fantastic experience. And so I had decided when I was about 11 years old to join the Air Force. Happy to explain why. But ROTC was really my primary goal in going to college. And the University of Florida, Det 150, had a fantastic ROTC program. And so that was a primary driver for me wanting to go to school there.
No, that's awesome, sir. So it looks like you branched initially public affairs. Is that accurate?
It is. Honestly, I had no idea really what public affairs was. When I went to college, my initial thought was maybe go into Intel. And of course, like a lot of Air Force ROTC cadets, I wanted to pursue some type of aviation career field. Alas, it was not to be, and I learned that I did not have an aviation aptitude. And so I studied advertising. I was in the School of Journalism and Communication. And as I was getting ready to graduate, and of course, like a lot of cadets and a lot of graduates trying to figure out what's next, I realized that if I did not plan to stay in the military as a career, that public affairs seemed like an opportunity to use my degree, get some experience, and then go out into the private sector. So I figured I'd try it out for 4 years, and 32 years later, here I am.
No, that's great, sir. I'm on the Army side, obviously, and so we don't have public affairs open to us until we make captain. So I think it's great that you can get some fresh-minded and youthful young company level officers in there. Really brings a new perspective, and I think the Army is actually opening up to lieutenants now, which is great. So you mentioned 32 years in service. How are the skills that you learned while being at UF? How did it give you initial success, and how do you still see parts of what you've learned while still in school there helping you to this day? Because most of this point is probably the 30 plus years of experience. Do you still lean on anything from your time at school there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't overstate how impactful my time in ROTC and at University of Florida was really to making me the officer and the professional communicator that I am today. And there's a lot of aspects to that. I would say probably the number one for me was while in ROTC, I had the amazing opportunity to be a part of the Billy Mitchell drill team, which is, in a lot of ways, almost like a fraternity in the sense that you're taking a unit, you're taking a bunch of cadets, and you're learning small unit leadership and some of those fundamental skills that I've been able to apply throughout my career. And what I mean by that is things like the importance of being a member of a team and being a good follower before you can learn to be a good leader. And of course, in the military, the reality is, you're working on a global scale with many different teams and a lot of times having to do peer leadership. And so those kinds of experiences help. In addition, the ability to improvise, overcome, and adapt the kinds of challenges that were thrown our way, and both on the parade field, in the classroom, and then of course just leading small teams. You were able to learn at a very young age that you can get the mission done. You can figure out a way to do it, and sometimes it's going to involve creativity, working together, listening to others, and those are things that I still apply today. Probably, I would say the most fundamental thing that I learned, and this was as I was going through field training in between my sophomore and junior years, was that the number one reason for success or failure comes down to the guy that I'm looking at in the mirror. And that I'm not, I learned not to make excuses for why I couldn't get something done or why I couldn't achieve a goal, that it was up to me to make the changes necessary to accomplish whatever responsibilities I had been given. And that to me was really life-changing. I went into field training, I think, a good cadet. I came out of it with a completely different mindset and saw my GPA go way up. And, again, that was just a foundational experience for me. Lots and lots of stories like that. But, the bottom line is those lessons that I learned in the classroom and on the, Flavet field back in the day are things that I still apply in my current Air Force career.
That's awesome, sir. So just kind of segueing into your actual Air Force career, pretty much anybody can pull up your bio, see what duty stations and assignments you've had. My question for you is, what were your favorite and least favorite either duty station or assignment, and what did you learn from both of those experiences, whether it was on the positive end or the negative? Because there's things you can learn from any of them.
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. As you highlight on my bio, I have been incredibly fortunate in some of the assignments and experiences that I've had. And so it's really hard for me to pick one that I would say that was my favorite assignment. I could tell you there's something about every single one where I learned something or took something new from it. Certainly some have been more difficult than others. Being stationed in England as a young captain and being able to lead my own public affairs team with some amazing teammates, and also the opportunity to lead a team during ongoing combat operations, as our fighter jets were conducting operations over Serbia. That was a foundational experience. Being assigned in Germany at the start of Operation Iraqi Freedom and supporting those efforts, as U.S. forces were engaging in northern Iraq, and then the deployments I think that I've had have always been both challenging, but also probably where you learn the most. And again, I was fortunate to have deployed to Iraq. And also to Pakistan, and in each of those experiences, the ability to kind of learn not only about yourself but also from your teammates in a very challenging situation, I think really helped my resilience to be able to know when it truly is stressful or versus just hard. So a lot of amazing experiences like that. You asked me about worst assignments. The reality is I've never had a bad assignment. I will say, though, for anyone who served in the military for more than 5 minutes, you're going to experience adversity. You're going to experience death and loss, and you're going to experience some really challenging times. And there's both positives and negatives. But, one of the things that I remember early in my career was a good friend of mine lost her brother in an airplane accident. It was an AWACS jet taking off in Alaska and had a bird strike. And it really impressed me the way the military community, the Air Force, just surrounded themselves around my friend and her family. And to me, that was a pivotal moment about the kind of organization the military is and something that I wanted to commit to and to be a part of. On the negative side, sometimes you will experience situations with, challenging situations where leaders or situations that are just, difficult, to be frank. And I believe, I've been very fortunate to work with some incredible leaders and some incredible mentors. But there's times you will also learn from individuals that maybe are not the best in that camp. And so you're always going to take something away from it, good or bad, that you can apply to your own experiences. So long-winded answer, but a lot of good assignments.
Yes, sir. I definitely agree. I think the best advice I ever got was bloom where you're planted. Being in recruiting, I see a lot of kids worried about, where I end up for my first duty station. Sounds like kind of the same thing you're saying is just own it, love it, and learn something from it.
Yeah. I mean, to get to your point, when I filled out my dream sheet for my first assignment, I really wanted to get stationed in Europe, and I put England, Germany, Italy, Germany, and I got Biloxi, Mississippi. And I had a fantastic time at Keesler. It was a first assignment. I was able to kind of really cut my teeth on what the Air Force was all about. There were a lot of lieutenants on the base that enabled me to kind of have a really supportive peer group and learn a lot about what it meant to be an officer. And it was fantastic. And by the way, as a result of that assignment, I was ultimately able to get to Europe. But you're right. I mean, most important job you have is the job you're in. Focus on that, and the rest takes care of itself.
Definitely, sir. Somewhat similar story. Same way as lieutenant, it was Europe. Ended up in Fort Polk, Louisiana, now Fort Johnson. So definitely same, very similar scenario there. Segue into just you and the way that you conduct yourself in interviews. So you did one earlier talking about how just a few minutes ago you were in 1988 at the University of Florida. Just watching some of your interviews, you do this almost deadpan, The Office style of delivering lines to people, which I personally love. My wife and I are big fans of The Office and just kind of how that's somewhat relatable and connectable. When you're engaging with audiences like that, is it kind of a result of the feel of the room, your just personal way of interacting just in your everyday life? Kind of where does that come from, and how hard is it to keep that deadpan serious face when you have a little bit of humor and a small little jab in there when you're delivering those?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. That right there.
So humor is an interesting thing, especially, in a job like this. You have to be cognizant of the context and the situation, and you never want to say something or do something that's inappropriate in that regard or dismissive, depending on the stakes. And of course, the military is a very serious business. But and I think this is a common view among those of us who serve in the military. Humor can be incredibly important when you're dealing with the stressful jobs that we deal with. And so, I've always tried to be a human being when I'm engaging and doing briefings. And, a lot of the reporters that you see asking the questions, I've known a lot of these folks for many years, worked with them for many years. So I know them. But I'm always going to try to, not put myself in a situation where I'm inadvertently making a joke at the expense of something that's not funny or not appropriate. In terms of, where that comes from, I mean, that's just who I am. I also am a big fan of The Office. I think I've watched every season about 10 times as part of my professional briefing training. But I just have always found that humor is very helpful in dealing with stressful situations. And so I appreciate the feedback on that, though.
No, I love it, sir. That's excellent. So, outside of being in the office, what are some other personal interests that, at the end of the day or on the weekends that you enjoy to do with your family, just outside of work?
Yeah, don't really get weekends that much. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm a big history fan. I really enjoy learning about history and reading about history. And so, living here in Northern Virginia, the opportunity to experience that is pretty cool. Just a few weekends ago, my wife and I were driving around some of the Shenandoah Civil War battlefields and checking that out. But then also, when we travel a lot, we go to a lot of different places around the world for this, my current job. And so that also affords an opportunity to see some pretty amazing history. So reading about history, I do like to travel when on a personal level when I get the chance, and of course just a lot of reading. I find, especially in this job too, that you're dealing with so many different issues and so many different parts of the world that it's very helpful to kind of just understand the origins of various crises, understand the origins of U.S. relationship with different countries, and so that's something that I really enjoy doing as well.
Yes, sir. And just learning from other people's mistakes, just being able to read on, hey, we have a similar situation, so let's not fall down the same rabbit hole. I feel like the military is notorious for sometimes making the same mistake a few times, which is why we have our training rotations with JROTC, NTC, things of that nature on the Army side. So that's great. And a guy from Southeast Virginia, definitely representing Williamsburg and all of the amazing just history and culture that's out there too. So if you ever have a chance for about a 3-4 hour drive, it's definitely
I've
worth
been
the
there.
weekend.
Been there many times, and I mean, to your point, it goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War, and fascinating place. So,
yes, sir. So, the UF Association of Military Alumni, we are officially starting our chapter in July this year. And so, what are your thoughts on officially creating an association for the UF military community? We aren't, a West Point, a Citadel, VMI, but I think that just being able to launch the community of veterans, supporters, DoD civilians was big for us. So, as someone who went through ROTC and everything like that, how do you see the importance and what was at least once a lack of a community for those individuals who identify with the service side of the house from the UF community?
Yeah, I have to admit, when Kevin first reached out, it was one of those, my reaction was like, why doesn't this exist? I mean, I keep in touch with a lot of folks from my time in ROTC at the University of Florida. And of course, over the years, you run into folks that went to Florida, and you always have that common bond. And it was just like, this is a really good idea. I mean, why isn't there a subset of the alumni association where folks that went through ROTC or that served in the military have a way to connect with one another and, share war stories, so to speak, but also support one another. So I think it's a fantastic idea. And I, obviously look forward to seeing it continue to grow as a way for us to continue to connect and really, build that Gator network that you see worldwide. I mean, when you're walking through the airport or something and you see a University of Florida hat or a T-shirt or something, it immediately sparks up a conversation. And, when did you go there? What did you do? And then if it's a fellow service member or veteran, it just takes it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. I think it's one of the great things one of our previous guests said is, in the military, we find a problem and we find a way to fix it. And I think Kevin and the team have done an excellent job of finding a gap and finding a way to appropriately fill it and give kind of a small community inside of a much larger community of UF alumni.
Absolutely.
And just great to, be a part of it in their team. And so for people who will be a part of that community soon, so ROTC students, I know that you were at UF just a few years ago, sir. So what advice would you give, very timely and relevant information for those students going through ROTC, going through college, really learning how to balance that professional and learning side with being away home for the first time? What are some of the challenges that maybe you experienced and some advice that you would give those students?
Yeah, I think for me, admittedly, as I came into Florida, as I mentioned, I don't know that I had the right balance in terms of academics and, ROTC and social activities. But for me, field training, again, was that pivotal moment where I was able to kind of do a couple things. One, learn how to be more disciplined, have more self-discipline in terms of managing my time. But it also gave me a goal to work towards. And, as I mentioned, I went to college to be an ROTC, and I wanted to get a commission. And so I think that cadets have an advantage in that regard because, you have the opportunity, whether you're going to serve for 4 years or for a career, to be able to get that commission and go off and serve. So trying to manage your time, and you want to enjoy your time at college, but you also want to make sure that you're working towards an objective. And then in terms of going into the military, I think talking to folks that are out there making those connections, and that's why this organization will be a great resource in that regard, is to get an understanding of what is the real military all about. Of course, as a senior cadet, you think but you don't really know. And so there's folks out there that can help you. And so I would encourage people to reach out to those who are currently serving or those who have served. And I think you're going to find that the opportunities that are out there and the things that you're going to get to see and do are pretty amazing. I still have to pinch myself sometimes when I think about the places I've gone, the meetings I've sat in, the historical events I've been able to be a part of, and never in a million years would I have thought that was going to be my experience, back in 1992 when I was getting commissioned. So it's been fantastic.
Yes, sir. One question I love to ask people who have stayed in is, we have a story for why you join. You said at 11 years old, you wanted to go Air Force. But why did you stay? I feel like that's the one thing that really differentiates people's stories is, the reason you stayed in 32 plus years and continuing your service.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is I've always felt like I'm a part of something that's bigger than myself. And I feel like what I'm doing contributes to the greater good. In this case, the defense of our country and our national security interests. And, on a more human level, it's been a combination of experiences. I mentioned that early experience in my career at watching the Air Force wrap its arms around the family of a fellow lieutenant who had lost her brother. It was being a part of operations and the camaraderie and the cohesiveness and the sense of accomplishment when you're supporting one another in combat zones or in high-profile operations. But then it's also I just love this team and I love this organization. And I just, every day I come to work, I feel like if I'm going to work this hard and I'm going to make these kinds of sacrifices, I want to do it knowing that I'm contributing to something bigger than myself.
Yes, sir. I will. Whatever you thought at 11 years old, you're still doing it 32 years later after commissioning. So you definitely were on the right track back then. That's awesome. So I don't know if you know this, but you actually hold a degree from what's considered a new Ivy League university, according to Forbes.com, listing UF as one of the new Ivy Leagues. So kind of what are your thoughts on that as far as whether official or unofficial being part of an Ivy program, whether it's something that you saw back then or just a trend that you've seen in education? Because I'm sure you've met plenty of officers who come from all over who went to the traditional Ivies and things of that nature. What does it mean when the organization that you graduated from, or really started your career from, is receiving recognition like this?
Yeah, well, look, to be honest with you, I've always said that University of Harvard is the University of Florida of the Northeast. So I'm not sure, when, but
I think most people would flip those, but I like your thinking.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Look, as I mentioned, the experience that I personally got from my time at Florida, the education that I received was fantastic, and it really set me up for being prepared to do the job that the Air Force ultimately selected me to do, which was public affairs. And so, and on top of that, I think what I really appreciated about the University of Florida, and it's just gotten better, in the 30 plus years since I left, was the fact that because it is the university that it is, and it has the resources available. I mean, there's so many options for students to be able to figure out what really excites them, what they're motivated to do, and then, achieve your full potential. The other thing too is that it's not just the academic piece. I mean, there's just sort of the school spirit and school pride. I mean, it at least in my time there, it was a motivating place to be. Now, part of that may have been the fact that my sophomore year, Steve Spurrier showed up to be the coach. And of course, that was pretty electrifying. But I always looked at both my ROTC experience, my Florida experience academically being complementary. And especially my time in the School of Journalism and Communication. I mean, I felt that in addition to the academics, the practical work that we were able to do, and which, by the way, didn't go well for me all the time. I mentioned good and bad. I'll never forget doing a project. It was a capstone project on an ad campaign, which we did okay, but we could have done better. And I still think to that, and I still think about the importance of preparation, leadership, and so those are the kinds of experiences that you get that ultimately will enable you, if you take the advantage of it, to succeed in whatever your chosen profession is.
Yes, sir. And so we're getting close to the end of our time here with you, so I appreciate that. Any final closing thoughts or comments from you as we wrap up here and let you get back to your very busy schedule?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. And again, I think that creating a network, an association of military alumni that is going to help bring together Gators who have served in the military, are going to serve in the military, are serving in the military. I think it's a fantastic idea. And I think, again, as a Gator community, the ability to be able to share experiences with one another, learn from one another, support one another is really a laudable effort. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Again, every day is a great day to be a Gator, but I really appreciated the chance to talk with you and just share some of my experiences.
I appreciate that,
sir.
I really appreciate your time, sir.
Yeah, I'm a fellow CJC grad myself, and again, this is a big honor to have you on. For all of you listening, be sure to follow us at Gator Military on all major platforms, gatormilitary.org. And sir, we definitely appreciate your continued support and serving as a standout Gator grad. So thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yep. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Evan. Go Gators, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Go Gators.